of all. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Pursuant to Illinois Attorney General's guidance, public bodies, Open Meetings Act, county board members may participate without being physically present and compliant with the established provisions. So this morning we do have a physical quorum, so we do not have to do roll call for every vote. So first of all, I need a motion that we will allow our other members to participate virtually.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and next can we have a roll call of the committee?
Chaplin, here. Desart,
Here.
Hart,
Here.
Bozak,
Here.
Tornatori.
Here.
Zink.
Okay, moving on. Public comment. Do we have any public comment today? No? Okay. Next, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of Tuesday, May 18th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to number 6, consent items. I'd like to move to combine and approve items A through P. These are all contract closed.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on these? Anyone want to pull anything? Okay, not hearing any objections. I move to approve these contract closed consent items.
Second.
Wait, do we have to vote on the combined? Do we vote on the combined? No.
Only six combined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear combine. I didn't hear.
But we
Sorry.
can
My
combine
ears
and
closed.
approve with a physical form,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you.
Sorry, my bros and zeros.
No problem. So I move that we approve these consent items A through P. Second from,
Second.
okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 7, I move for approval of the payment of claims for public works and facilities management.
So
I move second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion of these items? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, this passes. Now, action items. First action item, I move for approval of PWP 028221. Recommendation for the approval of a contracted comment to provide electric delivery services for the operation of all public works facilities for the period of June 8th, 2021 through June 7th, 2024 for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,168,000 per 55 ILCS competitive bids. C, not suitable for competitive bids, public utility.
Second.
Any discussion of this matter? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Item B, I move for approval of PWR 029521, declaration of the Steeple Run Well House number 2 property as surplus real estate.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion of this on this issue?
Looks like Member Desart has a question.
Okay, member to start.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I sent this out as a question over the weekend, but I know it was a holiday, so that's okay. I'll just ask my question now. Does regarding 8, B, and C, does a vote in favor of surplus real estate give the county permission to sell these 2 parcels? And how much could the county receive, assuming the parcels have been appraised? My 2 questions. Thank you.
So when the first step, when we start marketing, if we declare something as unneeded, we want to divest ourselves operationally with a piece of property, the committee has to declare it surplus. Once you declare it surplus, then we work with the state's attorney to figure out the path forward with divesting ourselves of that property. A lot of the properties you see in public works, it's usually too small to be a developable lot, although the second one, the Highland Hills, is definitely developable. It's big enough, but usually what we see for these small ones like this, it's usually neighboring properties. Somebody wants it or it's split 2 ways each side, but there's a real benefit for us, not necessarily the money, but more the maintenance. Now,
Right.
It's different on C on Highland Hills. This was a property that we acquired as part of the Highland Hills Sanitary District conversion when we converted that entire system to Lake Michigan water. and we gained ownership of that property. That was several years ago. We've got everything working. It's working well. Great project. If you recall, we switched to Lake Michigan water. It's cheaper for it, so everybody's very happy, but we don't need this property. The property is very difficult because it's got a building on it. That's where they had their headquarters, but there's an underground reservoir in the building. And so the first step here, declare it surplus. Then we are hopeful to be able to sell this property as is without, with that reservoir in place. And the most likely, to be honest with you, is going to be the neighboring, there's like a commercial medical facility right next to it that might want it for parking. If we are unsuccessful in marketing it, then we'll have to look at, do we as a public works agency fill that reservoir, demolish the building, and then sell an empty lot? But, you know, obviously our goal would be to maximize profit for the department and minimize our cost for putting it on the market.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. How big is the property? An acre, half acre, quarter acre?
The Highland Hills, Sean, do you remember the size of that? How big is that?
Just under an acre.
Just under an acre.
All right,
And
thank you so much.
right,
How big is the reservoir?
of the reservoir underneath. It
About
was
100,000 gallons.
100,000 gallons, yeah.
About 20 feet deep.
Yeah. It's part of the building, which makes it super unique.
You said the well house is not that big, because I had Sam and Jim's well house number 2. I thought we put a bar in there. You know?
You probably could, yes.
So Nick, with the first property, can we sell it off to the neighbors perhaps, or at least
Sure.
market it to the neighbors and get something for it?
Yeah, no, once this committee says, yes, it's surplus, then we will work with the state attorney to figure out, you know, obviously, we'll work with zoning as well. Is it a developable lot? And I think the answer is no, it's not. And so at that point, then we have to, most likely, the only reasonable solution would be the surrounding neighbors around it, and to see, okay, who wants to have it, and then we don't maintain it, then they have to maintain it. And we typically don't get a ton of money from that, but we will get an appraisal to make sure we're getting fair market value.
Okay, thank you. That was my second question. Do we just give it to the people, the neighbors, just since it's so small? Just give it to the neighbors so we don't have to maintain it anymore? Or do we try to get something for it? You're
Try to
saying
get-
we try to get something for it. Okay, thank you so much, Madam Chair.
We go to Ace and go on those for sale by owner signs.
Any other comments on this? For sale by owners?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of item B? Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Any nays? Okay, thank you. Now I'll move on to item C. PWR. I move for the approval of PWR 029621, declaration of the Highland Hills Sanitary District property as surplus real estate.
So moved. I seconded. Sorry.
Okay. Any discussion on this? I think Nick had answered our questions earlier. Okay, hearing no discussion. All in favor of item C, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item passes. Any old business today?
We do have 2 items to go over.
Okay.
First item, if you remember, committee, we brought forward a purchase, the opposite end of it, a purchase of a piece of property down at Marion Brook, right off of I-55 in Cass, as part of a Marion Brook underground facility. The neighboring property, we requested authorization to move forward with purchasing that for future expansion. Happy to say the owner has agreed to the terms that this committee set forth for that. We were hopeful that we were going to get all the paperwork done and have it here for the sale to move it forward. We were not able to finish that. We needed to get the environmental reports and all the due diligence, but it looks like we now have it done. So unless there's an objection from this committee, we would like to bring it forward for finance and county board approval, but that would mean we'd have to waive Public Works Committee. We were able to meet all of the terms that for pricing that this committee set forth as the limits.
So you want to wait, we
We don't need any action. I just want to make sure that this committee is comfortable if I bring it next week to finance and board to waive Public Works Committee. Discharge committee.
Do we need to have a vote for that?
No, I just want to make sure
Anyone
before we
have
vote.
any issue with that, or are we okay with putting it on finance next week? I'm okay with it. Everybody else is okay? Okay, then we'll consider this an unofficial discharge.
Okay,
All right.
second,
And second,
second one, if you remember in finance last week, we already talked to, Sherwin, Chaplin, to make sure she's good with it. We talked about the WorkNet lease. And there was some, concerns with 11-year lease on that. We are having CBRE, just so you know, because we originally brought this through not only here, but economic development as well. So we figured we'd just brief you. CBRE will be presenting at Finance Committee and just kind of, why they thought the 11, but we've also told them to be ready to pivot. And if the will of the board is something shorter, to be able to talk about that and go through that. And we will also have, if we really get in the weeds about negotiating strategies, we will have an executive session set up at finance in case if we have to pivot to that one, because obviously we don't want to go too deep into it, but at least an open session, CBRE will give a presentation about kind of where they are, what they did, and their market analysis so far
and that will be at the next finance.
at the next finance meeting next week.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions about that? Okay, we'll look for that next week. And anything else under old business? Hearing none. Any new business? Hearing none. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everybody.